I'm Erik Voss, and this is a breakdown of The Walking Dead Season 9, Episode 10, titled Omega. Alpha has arrived, she looks sick, her daughter Lydia shared her backstory, or backstories, get it straight, and the show keeps loving its confused Henry reaction shots. I'm gonna break all this down, details that you might have missed, and what this all means, and how it connects to the comics, and spoiler warning, obviously, if you haven't seen the episode yet. And real quick before we begin, thanks to Philo for sponsoring this video. Stick around to the end of the video to learn how you can start watching episodes of The Walking Dead within seconds with just a phone number, no credit card needed, to start a free trial. Okay, this episode is titled Omega, the Whisperer name given to Lydia, daughter of Alpha. Alpha is the first letter of the Greek alphabet, Omega is the last, and these terms are how we describe the hierarchy within packs of animals like wolves. The alpha is the strongest, the fiercest, the leader of the group, and the omega is the runt, the weakest, the one that they all beat up on. By the way, after episodes titled Evolution and Adaptation, this makes a turkey of episode titles lifted from biology textbooks. The Whisperers have adopted an animalistic pack hierarchy in order to survive. In this episode, we learn about the foundations of this ideology through the eyes of the runt, the omega. Even if she's really not that much of a true omega, but I'll get into that more later. It opens with an early outbreak flashback to a younger Lydia, her father Frank, and her mother, who you'll notice never gets named. That anonymity is key because as far as we know, this woman is only Alpha. And even the story presented to us through Lydia's eyes can't really be trusted because, as we learn later, Lydia is an unreliable narrator. The unreliable narrator is a storytelling device in which scenes are depicted that didn't actually happen, or they have inconsistent details that don't make sense, because it's all being presented from a biased source, a character who's lying, or someone who's suffering from a mental illness. Each time we revisit Lydia's backstory, her memory changes slightly. It all begins 23 days into the outbreak in the Baltimore area with her mother as a nurturing protective figure who tattooed Lydia's name on her arm and lets her trace it to calm down while she sings this lullaby of Lydia the Tattooed Lady, which is an old Groucho Marx song.
Say, have you met Lydia, Lydia the Tattooed Lady?
This could also be a nod to Breaking Bad. In the final episode of that series, Todd's cell phone had a custom ringtone for when Lydia called.
Lydia, oh Lydia, say, have you met Lydia, Lydia the Tattooed Lady?
The Walking Dead has referenced Breaking Bad a few times before. Remember, Merle's bag of drugs included some crystal blue meth. In these earlier scenes, Frank, the father, is initially depicted as a strict, heartless figure with a scary beard. Scary because it's never the same. In one memory, we see him trimming it, and then another, he's clean shaven, and then suddenly he is the nurturing figure with the Lydia tattoo and the lullaby. And then later, the mother switches characters, and she appears with shorter, scissor-cut hair. Also, notice the memory of Lydia and her mom playing checkers. And the mom says checkmate as a joke, and then jumps back into the present with Lydia remembering it as he always said that before suddenly cutting herself off and changing it to she. All the memories that Lydia has of her mother as a sweet, kind figure are actually memories of her father, which her mother brainwashed out of her memory through years of abuse. Frank never cut his beard, it was Lydia's mother cutting her hair. Lydia's mother is played by character actress Samantha Morton, whom you might know as the precognitive Agatha in Minority Report. I like how this shifting detail of which parent was using the scissors in the past echoes the scissors imagery in Agatha's similarly murky future vision in the opening sequence of Minority Report, with the scissors as the tool of the murderer. Henry and Lydia compare her mother to Carol, and it's interesting to look at these two as parallel figures. Two widows who have worn masks, arguably the deadliest wolves of their respective packs. Actually, if you remember during that whole wolf attack a couple seasons back, Carol similarly blended in and went on a deadly massacre, just like Alpha would. And Henry reminds us this episode how Carol once also cut her hair short, freeing herself from domesticity, but really trying to free herself from her abusive husband Ed so that he wouldn't have something to grab and abuse her. The Walking Dead has also introduced newcomers in the past with early outbreak flashbacks. Remember, Enid was introduced in a similar way. Actually, Lydia tells Henry that the world now belongs to the dead and they're just living in it, which is a callback to a similar line that Enid said to Carl in season 5 when he was trying to bring her into the civilized world. Really, Lydia and Henry's relationship is mapped more closely on Carl and Lydia in the comics. Issues 136, 137, 138, which scarred us all with the panel of Lydia licking Carl's eye hole. Ugh. Thankfully for us, Henry has both his eyes, so instead, the episode gives us this gross out moment of Lydia eating a worm and making him eat one too. Okay. Speaking of comic adaptations, kudos to Samantha Morton and the crew for the look of Alpha. Compared to the relatively clean look of Alpha in the comics, this one is the gross garbage person that someone who wore rotting human flesh on their face all the time would actually look like. In an episode filled with so many visual inconsistencies, the one that interests me the most has to do with Daryl. Check out his vest. Maybe I'm only just seeing this now, but notice how one of the angel wings on the back has been torn off. Last time I remember seeing it when the bridge exploded right before the time jump, he definitely had both wings. So what happened to the other one? I think there's a good chance it's connected to the X scars on his and Michonne's backs. Michonne might also have a piece of herself that was cut off sometime during the time jump. Some of her dreads definitely appear to have been buzzed away. Daryl has a second X scar up on his right shoulder, exactly where the wing patch used to be on his vest. So what else did these two have to give up in addition to fashion items and maybe kidneys? If this effed up mystery event was connected to where Rick went, maybe they could have severed these parts as a way to say goodbye to Rick. But let's get back to this idea of Omega, a word that's never spoken this episode, only alluded to with the reveal of the name Alpha and this mother's abuse of Lydia. Daryl realizes that Lydia's memories of her parents are inconsistent and that her mother must have been the one to give her the bruises on her arm. Presumably, these beatings are what make Lydia the Omega of their pack. In the comics, it's actually way darker. Alpha lets the Whisperer men rape Lydia, with the belief that things like rape and consent don't exist in the animal kingdom and the weakest deserve to be dominated. We'll see if the show goes this far. I doubt it will. But either way, I don't know if Lydia deserves the Omega label this episode. Like, she spends most of it lecturing Henry about how they're too weak and how their communities will eventually fall. She even nearly clubs them to death with a hammer. And if not for her past trauma triggering an attack, he'd be gone. Really, I think the true Omega of this episode isn't Lydia at all, it's Henry. Look, when you're the bottom feeder Omega of a pack, you're desperate to climb up even a little bit. And I think Lydia definitely slipped on top of Henry this episode. Phrasing. I know, there were bars between them. This episode was the story of the Omega of one pack testing the Omega of a rival pack and realizing that she's way tougher, indicating to her and to anyone measuring packs by their weakest links that this new pack is far more savage than they are. Which character do you think is the weakest link, the Omega on The Walking Dead? Comment down below with your thoughts. And thanks again to Philo, who sponsored this video and really made our return weekly coverage of The Walking Dead possible. Philo is a streaming service with over 50 channels, including things like AMC, Comedy Central. It's really the easiest way to watch The Walking Dead. You can start watching within seconds. All you need is a phone number, no credit card is required. You can start a free trial. There's unlimited recording so you can save as many shows as you want. Philo is available on Apple TV, Roku, Android, iOS, Fire TV. It's simple, it's affordable, only $20 a month for all of this content. You can essentially save $100 a month on your cable bill. Philo is your best solution to stay cord-free and commitment-free. Just visit www.philo.tv/newrockstars. That's philo.tv/newrockstars. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Erik Voss, and subscribe to New Rockstars, and subscribe to our podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks for watching, and thanks to The Walking Dead for reminding us of Ed. A good way for John Bernthal to release his rage over Netflix canceling The Punisher. Frank Castle, stop! Ed's already dead.